Welcome to episode 10 of our ComfyUI tutorial series. Today we'll talk about custom nodes, how to add and remove them, how to install missing ones, and some useful ones you can use. I'll also discuss Flux GGUF and show you how to install and run it on ComfyUI. Are you ready to learn? I've opened a workflow from the last episode, but first, let's go to the manager and check the latest news. As you can see, they fixed some issues in the new version. If you're on GitHub and reading discussions, make sure you don't download files from links containing that message. It has fixed some memory issues in this version. I'll go ahead and update everything, wait for the message, and then click Restart. After the update, we'll be back to this screen. You can see that now I have this version of the manager, whereas before it was this version. So if something isn't working correctly, update your ComfyUI in a day or two, and issues might be resolved in the new version. Let's go to the custom node manager. You have a filter here that lets you sort the custom nodes. If I choose installed, it shows all the custom nodes I currently have installed. Each custom node has an ID and a title. You can disable or uninstall a node if you want. On the right, you can see the author, the number of stars, and the last update. You can sort by stars to see the more popular custom nodes, or sort by update or by ID. In the last episode with ControlNet, I used an ArtVenture node for preprocessing. However, some users experience errors with it, and I found an alternative solution. So this is a good opportunity to show you how to uninstall a node. Click on Uninstall, and then confirm by clicking OK. When it's finished, you'll see a Restart button. I also want to uninstall another node that we used in episode 6 and showed an alternative for in episode 7. So I'll uninstall the Style CSV Loader node as well. By the way, if you see a warning sign, you can click on it to view nodes that might cause conflicts. These conflicts often arise because these nodes have overlapping functions or names with other nodes in your ComfyUI environment. Most of the time, you can ignore these warnings, but if you have many custom nodes, be aware of them. You might need to disable a node to see if that resolves issues in your workflow. Let's restart ComfyUI now that we've removed 2 custom nodes. But don't worry, we'll be installing more as the workflow becomes more complex. So this is what it looks like when you open a workflow and don't have some custom nodes. In this case, I don't have the ArtVenture custom node because I just uninstalled it. The node that's causing the problem will be highlighted in red. If you get a workflow from someone else, it's often easy to fix by going to the manager and clicking on Install Missing Custom Nodes. You'll see exactly which node needs to be installed. In this case, the ArtVenture node. Usually you just click Install and Restart, and it should work fine. However, in this case, I don't want the ArtVenture node. Instead, I'll delete it and use another node. If I search for AIO, I can find the O preprocessor node, which is part of the node we also installed in the last episode. Now, I'll reconnect the image to image node and also link it to the Apply ControlNet node. This setup loads our image, uses the preprocessor, and then applies ControlNet, just like I explained last time. From the list, we can choose Canny or Depth, but I'll go with Canny for this case. I'll adjust the resolution and test the workflow by pressing Q prompt. This is the result I get. The advantage of this node is that it includes many preprocessors in the list. However, if you mostly use Canny, you can use a node that already comes with ComfyUI. I'll delete this node and show you another option for Canny. If you go to Add Node in the ComfyUI category under Image Preprocessors, you'll see we only have Canny. I wish they would add more options here so I wouldn't need to keep installing custom nodes. You can select the node from this list or double click on the canvas, search for Canny, and select that node. Now I'm reconnecting image to image and testing it again. You'll see a small red circle indicating that the image input is missing a connection. Let's drag a connection and test it again. As you can see, it works just fine. And you also have more settings for adjusting the Canny map. Let's load another workflow, one with styles that we covered in episode 6. As you can see, we're getting an error because we no longer have the node. As I mentioned, I'm using a different node instead. So if I go to the manager and click on Install Missing Nodes, you'll see the styles loader in the list. You might install that node and still find that the workflow doesn't work. If that happens, click on the title of the node to open its GitHub page. Often, nodes require certain settings or dependencies to function correctly, so you need to configure them properly. Make sure to check the nodes page when installing missing nodes. Sometimes a node might not appear in the missing nodes list because the workflow creator used a custom node that isn't available in the manager. In that case, you'll need to find a replacement that performs similar functions. So I'm deleting this node, and just like in episode 7, I'll add a prompt multiple style selector, which is part of the WAS node suite. And now I can connect the positive to positive and the negative to negative. If I run the workflow as it is with no styles selected, I get this image of a bunny. Let's add a cute cartoon style to see if it works correctly. The result is this cute bunny, so it seems to work just fine. You can find these updated workflows in the Pixaroma Workflows channel in episode 7. There, you'll find information on the nodes used and how to configure the settings so the style files are recognized. If you run into any issues, mention Pixaroma on Discord if you have troubles with it. If I go to the Custom Nodes Manager and sort by installed, you can see that I currently have 5 custom nodes installed, including the manager and a few others. However, if I go to my ComfyUI folder and then into the custom nodes folder, you'll see all the nodes installed. Here I have 6 nodes instead of the 5 listed in the manager. This is because I installed one manually when the NF models were released. It doesn't appear in the list. Here, about 2 weeks ago, I installed that node. But now it's marked as deprecated in favor of GGUF, which provides better results. Since I won't be using this node anymore, I can delete it directly from this folder as there's no uninstall option in the manager. I'm restarting ComfyUI, and let's go to load again to get a Flux NF4 workflow from episode 8. Since we deleted the NF4 node, we get an error. I'll ignore it and reconstruct this workflow for GGUF instead. Let's load an FP8 dev version workflow and use that as a base. I'll go back to the manager and then to the custom nodes manager, search for GGUF, and install the one by City 96. Before restarting, let's install a few more useful nodes that I plan to use in my workflows. Search for crystals and install that node as well, as it includes some memory monitoring tools. Then search for RG3 and install it, as it also has some useful nodes. Now we can restart the interface. Let's go back to the manager and then to the custom nodes manager. If we go to installed and find the GGUF node we just installed, clicking on its name will open the node page. Here you can read more about GGUF and quantization, and you'll find links to the quantized models. I'll provide links to everything you need in the YouTube description and on Discord. You'll see there are both dev and Schnell models. If I go to the dev models, you'll find several versions with Q in the name. Higher numbers generally mean higher precision, leading to better model accuracy, but requiring more computational resources. You can test a few to see which offers the best balance of speed and quality for you. For me, the Q8 version was the best option for both speed and quality, even though it's larger. For Schnell, which is faster but less accurate, you might prefer the model that requires fewer steps. For illustrations, Schnell might be good, but for realism, dev is generally better. I'll download the Q8 version and place it in the UNet folder in ComfyUI. Be careful to save it in the correct folder, as it shouldn't go into the checkpoints folder. Next, we need clip models, which help connect and understand the relationships between text and images for better prompt understanding. Download the clip L model and place it in the clip folder. Then, download the larger clip model called T5. You can choose from FP8 or FP16, or get a quantized version with Q in the name. For better quality and performance, I found that Q8 is a good option. Download that version and place it in the clip folder as well. Lastly, we need a VAE, as this model doesn't include VAE and clip. Download the VAE model and save it in the VAE folder. To recap, in the UNet folder, add one of the Q versions of dev or Schnell. I used the dev Q8 version. In the clip folder, add the clip L model and the T5 model. Add the VAE model to the VAE folder. With all the models in place, let's build the workflow. Click on refresh to see the models, since ComfyUI was open when I downloaded them. By the way, the crystals node we installed added some tools here to show how much memory we're using. If you right-click on the canvas and add a node, you can explore ComfyUI's basic and custom nodes. This is a great way to discover what nodes are available and experiment with them. If you double-click on the canvas and search for a node, you can see if it's part of ComfyUI's core installation or from a custom node. Nodes from custom installations will show a name on top indicating their origin. You can manage this by changing the badge options in the manager. For example, if you change the badge to none, the title and icon will disappear, showing that it's part of ComfyUI. If you turn on the nickname option, you'll see the custom node's name, which helps keep track of which node belongs to which custom set. I keep this option on for clarity. To make changes, we need to understand how it differs. First, with the FP8 dev version, we load the checkpoint. Then, we add the text encoder with the positive prompt, but no negative prompt, since the dev version doesn't use negatives. Next, we use an SD3 latent image node and a Flux guidance node, which are specific to the dev version. For the settings on the K-sampler, start with 20 steps and always use CFG with a value of 1 to ignore the negative prompt. After processing, the image is decoded, and you can save it. So, to replace the load checkpoint node, let's double-click on the canvas and search for GUF. Since we placed our models in the UNet folder, we'll use the UNet loader node with GUF in its name. From the list, select your GUF model. Since our model doesn't include the 2-clip models and the VAE, we also need to load those. Search for and add the dual-clip loader node. I'll make sure it's the GUF version. Here you can select the T5 model and the clip L model from the list. And for type, select Flux. Finally, add the load VAE node, which you've probably used before. This will load the Flux VAE in this case. That's the only difference. Now, let's update the connections. Check how the load checkpoint node was connected and redo the connections for the 3 new nodes. I'm deleting the old node, moving the new nodes up, and connecting the model input to the model output. Next, connect the dual clip loader to the clip inputs for both positive and negative prompts. Even though we're not using a negative prompt, it still needs to be connected. Connect the load VAE node to the VAE decode. If you're using image to image, you'll also need to connect it to the VAE encode. That's all set. Let's test it to see if it works. The first generation will be slower since the model is loading, but subsequent generations should be faster. As you can see, it now takes only 16 seconds to generate an image. I'll save this workflow and others I'm working on and add them to the Pixaroma workflows channel on Discord. Just remember, when loading your own dev model, make sure to select it from the list and do the same for the clip models. I generated images with the full regular dev version to compare its speed with the Q8 version. As you can see with the Q8 model, the first generation took 28 seconds, and subsequent generations took 16 seconds on my RTX 4090. In contrast, the dev model took 81 seconds for the first generation and 20 seconds for the following ones. In my case, Q8 was faster. Now, I'm going to compare them, but first, let me show you how to do that using a node from RG3, which we installed at the beginning of this video. We have a node called Image Comparer that I'll add to the canvas. This node has 2 image inputs. To demonstrate how it works, I'll use 2 load image nodes and load 2 images, image 1 and image 2, just to be more clear how it works. When you run this workflow, you'll see a tiny preview. To make it larger, adjust the preview size. As you move the mouse, you can compare the 2 images. When the mouse is on the left, image 1 is visible, and as you move to the right, it reveals image 2. The default view shows image 1, and you can slide to the right to see image 2. Now, let's apply this to our workflow. I have the dev Q8 workflow here, and I'll copy all the nodes. Then I'll load the full dev version workflow from episode 8 and paste the Q8 nodes into it. I'll use a fixed seed for both workflows to compare them using the same image. So the second workflow is Q8, and the first one is the full regular FP16 version. Let's add the same prompt to both workflows. Just before the image is saved, it's inside the VAE decode node. We can add the image comparer node. Connect the VAE decode output to the image 1 input for the first workflow. and connect the second workflow's VI-AE decode output to the image2 input. Please note, unless you have a powerful video card, it's best not to try this at home, as loading two large models might crash ComfyUI. When I run the comparison, I get a preview that lets me compare the two images. This is the full version, and this is the Q8 version. Again, full version versus Q8. As you can see, there isn't a significant difference in quality in this case. I haven't tested on many images, but for me, Q8 seems good enough. It's faster than the regular version and also simplifies the workflow compared to the full dev version. You can see that the Q8 model is half the size, and the T5 clip model in the Q8 version is also half the size. This results in better speed, and the quality in initial tests looks similar, so I'll go with the faster option, but you should test it on your own computer. For example, on an RTX 2060, I found that the FP8 Schnell version was faster than the GGUF one, and some of the GGUF models even crashed. It might have been a bug, but as I mentioned, try different versions until you find one that works well for you. What I'm doing here is adding those art styles to the GGUF workflow. I'll do this quickly so I can save the workflow and add it to Discord for you. You can watch episode 7 to see how to add the art styles and configure the nodes so they recognize the styles. As you can see, with the art style selected, a simple cat can be turned into a cartoon cat or even a ninja cat if desired. Next, I'll rearrange the nodes to fit better on the screen and save the workflow. For those who prefer fewer nodes, I'm creating a compact version. I'm selecting all the groups, right-clicking, and choosing Convert Group to Nodes. You'll need to experiment with this. Just make sure you don't include all the nodes in the group nodes, as some might disconnect during the process. So you can always undo and try again if needed. I usually keep the load image and save image nodes outside the group nodes, so I can resize them easily. I hid some nodes in the group, which caused disconnections, so I had to make them visible again and reconnect them. I've done this to minimize trouble and provide a cleaner interface, similar to what you see in Automatic 1111 or Forge UI. I'll add compact to the workflow name. Let's also test a dev Schnell version. I'll download the Q8 version and place it in the models and then the unet folder. Next, I'll load the dev Q8 version workflow. By the way, if you don't see the workflow, it's because I saved it when it was outside the blue rectangle showing the canvas area. I had to move it into that area and save it again. Back to the workflow. Now we can switch from dev Q8 to Schnell Q8. The clip models should work fine with Schnell as well. If you have an older video card, try using smaller clip models until you find one that runs smoothly. Also, the Flux guidance node doesn't work with Schnell, so you can remove it. I forgot to remove it during the recording, but I deleted it in the save version. For steps, Schnell only needs 4, but you can set it a little higher, like 6 or 8 if you prefer. When running it, the first time it took 17 seconds to load the model, and the second time it took under 4 seconds. It's quite fast. I have the Schnell workflow here and have pasted the nodes from the dev workflow both using Q8 versions. To avoid manually adding the prompt and seed to both workflows, I'll connect them. I'll right-click on the K-sampler node, choose Convert Widget to Input, and then convert the seed to input. This will give me a seed input where I can connect other nodes. I'll do the same for the second workflow. Now I'll add a primitive node. This node adapts to whatever it's connected to. So if I connect it to the seed, it will display the seed value. I'll change its color to blue. The advantage of this node is that I can connect it to multiple workflows. So if I connect it to the second workflow, both workflows will use the same seed. To maintain some flexibility, I'll choose the increment option. So each time I queue a prompt, the seed will increment by 1. If I generate something and click generate again, the seed will be incremented by 1. And if I want to go back, I can revert to the previous seed. This is more useful for testing than using random seeds. Next, I'll do the same for the prompt. I'll convert the text to an input in both workflows, then add a primitive node for the prompt, which adapts similarly. However, since I have the Comfy Easy Use node, I'll just add a positive prompt as it's already the right size and color for easy use. I'll connect this positive prompt to both workflows, so whatever I enter here will be used as the positive prompt in both workflows. To compare the results, I'll add an image compare node and connect it to the VAE decode nodes in both workflows. Now I can run the workflows and compare the outputs. I'll rearrange the nodes to fit better on the screen and add some labels for clarity. Using the RG3 node, I'll add a label, adjusting its properties, size, and color. I'll change the title to Schnell Q8 for the image generated by that model and do the same for the Dev Q8 version. We're now ready to begin the test. From the initial results, both workflows produce nice images. I think the Dev model produces more realistic results. I used ChatGPT to generate a stable diffusion prompt for a cute cartoon ninja in the forest. I asked it not to include quotes, and it provided the prompt. To make things even easier, I requested it in a block code format for simple copy and paste. Once it's ready, I just click copy and paste it into my positive prompt. Now, the workflows are ready to run, and here are the results. The Schnell model tends to have a few more errors with details like hands compared to the Dev model. By the way, on the image compare node, if you go to the properties panel, you have an option to choose click instead of slide. This lets you hold the mouse button to see one version and release it to see the other. I prefer the slide option, so I'll switch it back. I then asked ChatGPT for a prompt for a bunny wearing a samurai outfit on a hill. I made sure that the generation was complete. Usually, when the dot disappears, it's ready to copy. I copied the prompt, pasted it, and ran it. By the way, if you're wondering, this big workflow takes 66 seconds to run. Since I added GGUF, I'm seeing this warning. If anyone knows of a fix, please let me know. It hasn't affected the speed, but I don't like seeing errors. Here are the results for the bunny prompt. Both versions look interesting. Which version is your favorite? Let's also try some portraits to see how both models handle them. I asked for glasses, curly hair, and a white blouse. Here are the results. Schnell usually has more vivid colors and contrast, while Dev tends to be more realistic. I'll also request a Viking prompt specifying a beard and a dramatic, ready-to-fight look. Here are the results. Schnell struggles a bit with holding objects and has a more illustrative style, while Dev is more realistic, though not perfect. I'll make it a bit more challenging for Flux by asking for a gameplay menu with a pixaroma logo on top and 3 different buttons, each with its own text underneath. As expected, Schnell is almost there, but messed up the continue and exit buttons. Dev did a very good job, but included an extra button. With a few more generations, I'm confident you can get the perfect layout with all the buttons just right. It's impressive that this can be achieved with these models. Let's try a dessert prompt, a chocolate cake with a strawberry on top, and add pixaroma dessert on a napkin. Both models managed it, but Dev did a beautiful job, getting all the text on the napkin right, and the strawberry looks great. The result is just delicious. Let's try a vector style design this time, a gnome silhouette on a white background. I keep having issues with Dev where I get blurred images. It seems to happen with certain seeds, especially when I use prompts for vector styles or specify a white background. I've tried different samplers and schedulers, but no matter what I try, the images are still blurry with some seeds. If anyone finds a solution, please let me know. If we go to the manager and then to the custom nodes manager, you can search for specific nodes, but the search functionality is somewhat limited. It might help you find nodes if their description includes the keywords you're searching for. However, there's a website that provides a better search experience for nodes. On the comfy.icu website, under the resources section, you'll find a page for custom nodes. Here, you can search for nodes more effectively. For example, if you search for compare, you'll find the RG3 node I use for image comparison. By clicking on it, you can access more information and even visit the node's GitHub page for detailed usage instructions. This tool can be quite useful for finding and learning about different custom nodes. The platform I usually use for voice generation is down for a week, so I'm currently using 11 Labs voice service. With the creator account, I get approximately 2 hours of voice credits per month. but that's often not enough since sometimes you need to generate or regenerate content for the extra credits beyond the monthly limit. It's costing me extra. As you can see, I've used a total amount for the month, and for any additional credits I have to pay extra. It costs 30 cents for 1,000 credits. For today's extra credits, I had to spend $24 on top of the $22 I've already paid. To help cover these costs, I created a membership program. If you can support my work, you can click on the join button. There are 4 different membership levels, starting at just $2, $3, and you'll get access to badges, stickers, and members-only videos. The Legend level also includes access to a special Legend-only Discord channel. If you connect your Discord to YouTube, you'll automatically get a role on my Discord server with specific access and priority replies. To connect your Discord account, go to your Discord profile settings, click on Connections, add YouTube, and follow the steps. As you can see, mine is already connected. Don't forget to check out the Pixaroma workflows and other useful channels. If you encounter any issues, you can mention Pixaroma on any public channel and I'll help if I can. And yes, I just hit the 10,000 subscribers milestone. Thank you all for your support. Don't forget to subscribe to my other channel, AI2Play, as well. That's all for today. If you enjoyed this, please leave a like or a comment, and I'll see you in the next episode. Have a great day.